Welcome back to Taival Outdoors. My name is Joel, and today we're taking a look at two different types of tactical boots. So we have the 511 Expert 3.0 and also 511 AT 8-inch boot. Non-waterproof and waterproof boot. I've been using these ones since late last year, so maybe 9 months by now. And these ones I actually got only a couple of weeks ago, but I've already managed to get something like 150 kilometers of experience, mostly rocking experience with the backpack with these bad boys. So I feel like I'm in a very good position to compare these two boots and give you my experiences and thoughts, which one would probably suit your needs better. But before jumping into the overview of these boots, just a quick reminder, if you're new to the channel, I do work with 511 Tactical Finland and these boots were provided to me by them. But of course, my experiences and thoughts and opinions are my own and I will give you them uncensored as always. But first off, let's talk about this XPRT or Expert from now on 3.0 boots. And as you can imagine, being 3.0, 511 has been manufacturing this lineup for many years, and this is the latest edition of the Expert series boots. So this is fully waterproof boot, has the event membrane, and so far throughout the winter that I used, or late last year and then early this spring again, once the snow had melted, I started using this again. I haven't had any issues with the waterproofness of these. These are also full grain leather, so there is that. Looks wise, I would say somewhat of a blend of a traditional military leather boot and with a bit of a modern twist. Excellent Vibram, however you say that, outsole. Excellent grip. I haven't had any issues with that. Probably one of the grippiest boots I've ever owned. So that is nice. The inside, the insole is quite soft, but it is Ortholite insole, kind of a foamy material. These, as well as the AT boots, do come in other colors as well, but I wanted to go with the classic black because that makes it then possible for me to use these in military exercises and still be up to the official dress code, so to speak. And I have been actually using these ones in now 2 different military exercises, I believe, work just fine. However, there has been one scenario where I had some challenges with these boots, but we'll come to that in just a moment. Let's first take a look at these ones. So these are the AT boots, 8-inch tall models without the side zipper. I prefer this one because, in my opinion, no matter what brand, what boot, zippers are always the first point where zippered boots fail. And I cannot imagine being in such a hurry where that zipper would be useful for me. I will always have the time to tie up my laces anyway, so why not then go with this one? The first thing that you'll note is that this is made mostly out of nylon, so it is a lot more breathable, kind of a canvas boot, and it has these eyelets here, screened eyelets, for presumably not just for the airflow, but also in case you dip your feet in some puddle or something. This is also a way for water to escape the boot without you having to take off the whole boot. Same feature that is probably very familiar to those who have seen the US military Vietnam era jungle boots, and actually I have owned those maybe 10 years ago, so when I got these and saw this feature, I was happily reminded of those days when I hike with those Vietnamese jungle boots in frankly quite cold and wet and miserable conditions in Finland back in the day. These ones have decent, quite basic outsole. It is not a Vibram outsole, but where the true beauty of these specific boots comes is the insole system. So these boots do come with Ortholite insole, which is very similar to the one that came with the Expert boot. In fact, might be almost identical. But the AT boots also come with this, and this is quite interesting. It's called Atlas Plates. Atlas comes from another acronym. Let's see if I can recall it. All-Terrain Load Assistance System. What it means in practice is that there is this hard molded plastic that sits below the soft insole. And as you can see, there is some flex there at the front, bit of all directions, but then coming down here, there's practically no flex at all. So it's very, very tough. Because of this curved design, it doesn't bend at all. And the purpose of this is to give a lot more structure to these boots that are otherwise made of relatively, well, not lightweight materials, but materials that really conform to your leg and to the terrain, because it's made of nylon and such canvas materials. So there is not that much of inherent structure to the boot. But when you add these, and of course then the soft insole on top of it, the boot transforms and now can take up heavier loads, and you can walk on uneven terrain a lot easier. And I did test this system and these boots with and without the Atlas plate during the international marching event that was organized by the Finnish Reservist Sports Association. During 4 days I rucked with a backpack, total of 101 kilometers, and every other day I had these on, and every other day just this soft insole. And what can I say already with that experience is that yes, these make the boot a lot more rigid, which is definitely a nice to have feature in uneven terrain. But because it was a rocking event, I did a lot of paved roads, a lot of asphalt and things like that. So during that time I noticed that it is a lot more beneficial to have these boots without those additional support plates and just have them roll a bit easier on those hard surfaces, and that really made a difference. I had these boots actually only 9 days before the marching event, so not much of a break-in period. And even then, with so little amount of time to prepare my feet with these boots, I only got 2 minor blisters. So all in all, I would say that's a pretty good thing, and at least these fit my feet then quite well. Now, talking about the fit, you can probably tell that these boots are quite different. First of all, these are 6-inch boots and these are 8-inch boots. The thing is that when I got these, I got them in size 46, and that is the US size of 12, UK 11. That's my pretty much standard size. But I did the Varus de Lekas remote marching event this year where I rocked for 50 kilometers in a day. And first 25, these were still just as good as always. But after that, your feet start to swell a bit. And I noticed that the last 25 kilometers started to be a bit more uncomfortable than my swollen feet inside of these boots. And being a bit tougher leather, tougher boots, there wasn't much room for my feet to spread out and swell a bit, so I ended up getting quite a bit of blisters, but that was only after the first initial 25 kilometers. So I went with a size up, but the thing is that with 511, once you get to those higher shoe sizes, the next one from the size 46 is 47.5, so US 13, UK 12, so it jumps 1 full size, so from US 12 to US 13, and that's 1.5 sizes in European sizes, so that's quite a big of a difference. At least I can definitely feel it. Doesn't look like much maybe here, but putting these two side by side, it starts to get pretty obvious that these are a lot bigger boots. One difference to note about these boots is that this AT1 does have this cord lock here. So once you get this area laced as you want it, you can just lock it here, and now you can loosen up the top part, and this stays tight all the time. So that's a nice feature, but all in all, both of these boots are just as fast to lace up. The laces on the Expert one are a bit different, hard to say. I think they had some name for this, like ghillie laces or something like that. Anyway, haven't noticed a major difference between the two, but I do prefer this lacing system over this one. But in the end, it's not that big of a deal, but just something to be aware of. So that was a brief overview of the 511 Expert 3.0 boots and the non-zip version of the AT boots. Now, of course, the main difference between these two is the waterproofness, and just the fact that this comes as zippered version and with these two ventilation holes in the side tells everything you need to know about the waterproof qualities of this boot. Now, 511 says that it is made of water-resistant materials, and of course you can spray on some water-resistant coatings and such, but make no mistake, these are not waterproof, but these are. And that's pretty much where it boils down when you're choosing between these two boots. If I would have to pick only one boot that would serve me as a tactical and military boot throughout the year in Finland, or at least, you know, 3 seasons, I would have to go with this because it is quite wet, especially in the forests here in Finland during, well, almost all year around, but especially now. Fall is again coming and rains with that season, so waterproof boot is the way to go. However, for all the upcoming marching events and rocking events, I will definitely be using this one. And hopefully we can again go to Holland next year to the legendary 4-day and 160 kilometer marching event, which I did back in 2018, but I really like to go there again. And if that happens, then these are the boots that I will be taking. These are a lot better for marching, for rocking. They're a bit lighter, they breathe better, obviously, and they just roll on top of paved roads a lot better. And being one size up from this one, this also makes it possible for my feet to splay out and swell a bit, and I can still continue walking without any problems. If you're more of a grunt who spends time outdoors and has to deal with all sorts of conditions, then Expert 3.0, there's nothing wrong with that. But as you can see, I've started lacing them up from the second eyelet, actually, to leave this one open to give me more room over here. That has not been the case with these ones, because the lacing itself starts a bit further back, and these are of course one size bigger, so work for that rocking and walking purpose a lot better. Alright, before wrapping this one up, there's still one more thing that I want to show you. So here's the AT boot without the Atlas support plate. It's a bit hard to show, but I can bend it quite well, especially this direction. And here's a boot with the Atlas plate, so it requires a lot more effort on my part to really bend it, and especially in this direction it doesn't bend almost at all. So that orange plate, support plate, really does wonders if you're going to carry heavy weights on uneven terrain. If you have any further questions about the 511 Tactical Expert 3.0 or the AT boot, please let me know down in the comment section below. Anyway, personally I'm going to use both of these in the future, depending on the situation and weather conditions especially. I'm a big believer in good waterproof boots. I know some people like to get their feet wet whenever they have the opportunity, but that's not me. I prefer to keep my feet dry as long as possible. So that's why I will always advocate for a good pair of waterproof boots. But as for these, they will definitely have a place for all the rocking events, marching events that I will be doing. Those are usually during summer. better weather, harder surfaces to walk on. So the right choice for that job is then to have breathable, flexible boot that still looks like a military boot, doesn't look like a tactical sneaker. I should know because I have owned one pair of those in the past, but I prefer this one a lot. And of course, you can't go wrong with like an updated design of the legendary jungle boot. Those who have used those know exactly what I mean. That's all from this time. My name is Johan. You have been watching Taival Outdoors. I will see you all in the next one.